The other day I shared how the pain that I was specifically having and then the injury in general, I shared the verbiage "this is God too," like stemmed from God is everything or He is nothing. And I used the verbiage He out of habit, but it works better for me. It is everything. God is everything. Only because He signals to my brain religion, which I am untangling. So the question is, like, how can God be something so painful? Like something that took me through a journey that was filled with pain and filled with humiliation and filled with trauma and filled with anguish and filled with all these negative things. And what I am coming to unravel is more verbiage. Like, our words are so important. My words are so important. And so it can only be labeled, it can only be hard to understand that it is God too if I, the human, am perceiving and labeling the thing as bad, like good versus bad. And something is only good or bad when it's perceived that way. Or how can I show this with this injury? Well, I'm very hard-headed, and just a tidbit, I got clean for the first time in 2015, and I worked a program for about a year, and then I decided that I had enough willpower to not drink and use, and so therefore I couldn't actually have a problem with those things. And so I decided I didn't need recovery and I just needed religion. And I used religion in its essence to control myself and my life and therefore everyone around me. And I willpowered it and white knuckled it and essentially was a dry drunk and continued to cause a lot of chaos in my life. And fast forward to the injury when I was still causing this chaos, but by that point I had already picked back up a couple years before the injury, and thus more chaos ensued. And so I was running heavily on self-will and trying to run my own life without a higher power, and driving myself into the ground in a lot of ways, and my life and a lot of things around me. And so this injury is what caused me enough pain, because apparently all of the mental anguish and emotional pain wasn't enough. The injury, the physical pain, caused me to realize that I, the human, can't sustain my life without a connection to my higher power. It caused me to be humbled in a great and magnificent way, and it left me no other choice but to rely on a higher power. And it's a little bit tangled for me because once I did have the injury, I did choose to use cannabis alongside Tylenol and ibuprofen to help mitigate the pain as much as I possibly could, because I desperately did not want to take a narcotic. For me, that was a signal to myself that I had given up, and so not that that's true for somebody else, just my personal journey. Like, that was in my mind, like, if I choose to use narcotics, then I'm giving up and I've lost all hope. And also my body was so not in a place to handle the narcotics anyways. So I have since been able to get off of it, which I'm very thankful for, that my pain is becoming more manageable, that I don't have to use it. But my point is that this thing that happened in my life is what caused me to hit another rock bottom and rely on a higher power and get back into recovery. And so that, in the big picture of things, is actually good. So it could be labeled bad or good based on my perception. And I think that's the important thing for me to remember, is that when looking at like one specific little thing, it's easy to label it good or bad and then just continue on with that story. But if I'm just continuing to accept everything as it is, and thus in my higher power's control and part of a bigger plan, then I can loosen those labels of good and bad and just move into, there's a little fly, just move into more moments of acceptance. And the last tidbit is then how if nothing is good or bad, then how would I know what to do next? Because something that is often said and that I often use is just do the next right indicated thing, because for me that keeps it spiritually simple enough to where I am not trying to seek control and like plan out a whole thing and orchestrate everything, because I am not God. And so I literally just do the next right indicated thing. And so then you're like at the words right and wrong. And I think that's different than good and bad, because like right and wrong, like 2 + 2 is 4. Like if somebody says that 2 + 2 is 4, like they are right, they are correct. If somebody says that 2 + 2 is 5, they are wrong, they are incorrect. It doesn't make either of those persons bad or less than or immoral or anything negative. One of them is just right and one of them is just wrong. And if you're spiritually connected to your higher power, then that connection will, especially more and more over time, will then make it easier to know what the next right indicated thing is, to have that revealed to you, versus something wrong, versus the next wrong indicated thing. Like that can usually be very clear, especially if you're just looking like literally the next thing, like just what's right in front of you. So that is helping me untangle like old religious parts of my thinking in regards to my higher power and helping me navigate the day-to-day, and I hope it helps you as well.